Hello. According to this computer, I am now live. I've been feeling live most of the day. That is, all right, that's a lie. I haven't felt really very alive. But now, here with the maybe two or three of you who are watching this, I feel alive. And I'm really glad you're all here. And thank you for joining me. This is something that I just wanted to try out. It may be something that I start doing pretty regularly. I'm calling this Cullen Social Hour because that's what this is about. We're going to get together and we're going to talk, and we're going to have a beverage. If you guys have a beverage on hand, and we're just going to talk about comics and movies and books and stories and everything else, all the things that inspire me and the things I love. I'm going to give you some updates on projects that I have going on right now. I'm going to give you some towards the end of this broadcast. I'm going to tell you about something new that's coming up, something I'm putting together that I'm really excited about. So we just got a ton of stuff to talk about. Like I said, I hope you guys like this, and if you do, we'll do more of them. I'll do them pretty regularly. So let's just jump into it, right? So I can't really do this broadcast without starting off talking about the Kickstarter that I'm currently running. It ends this week. It's called Democritus Brand and the Endless Machine, and it's a steampunk adventure of cosmic horror, and it's going to be a lot of fun. The book has funded, so the campaign's been successful. We're funding the first 2 issues. The campaign has been successful, but we're of course going for some stretch goals. My partner, my co-writing partner in the project, Jimmy Z. Johnston, has this crazy idea for a $20,000 stretch goal where we're actually going to print 1-page comics on the backer boards that all of the comics have in them. So you should check that out. If you haven't looked at the project, you should check it out. I'm going to try to share my screen here and show you some of some of the art that we have for the book. There's some really cool stuff. Let's see if this works. I got a warning that it would crash my machine. But yeah, so it's on Kickstarter right now. If you search Democritus Brand and the Endless Machine, you'll find it. It's a really, it's that art that you're seeing there is a double-page spread by our artist, Federico De Luca. He's a very talented artist. He brings some really cool imagery to this fictional Victorian era London full of steampunk horrible steampunk mutations and cosmic horror. So we've got that project going on. I've got some really cool variant covers. This one's by Baldemar Rivas. It's one of the options for the project. Showing off our hero Democritus Brand. We have covers by Andrea Muti, who did one of our other variant covers. That my share screen's not working. There we go. Did one of our other variant covers. So there's just different options you can get for the book. And like I said, we're doing 2 print first issues. All of the art is done for this series. Everything's done with it. So really all we have to do is finish getting it lettered, finish the final designs, and get it to the printer. So I think we're going to be able to deliver it very quickly. So I'm very excited about that. Yes, yeah, and yes, mechanical mummies, as Brandon points out. It's what else could you possibly desire from a comic? It's anyway, it's a lot of fun. I'm very excited about it. We're already working on our the next issues 3 and 4. So we've got that to look forward to. We have, we've got a lot of stuff planned for it. Go look at the campaign. There's some really cool, really cool options there. Someone's asking, Mike, you're asking if the artists still get credit and paid for it for the variant covers. Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the reasons we're doing the Kickstarter. We want to make sure everybody involved gets a paycheck. Jimmy and I probably are the last people to get paid on the project, but we're going to make sure all of the artists get their credit and get their share of what we can for the project. So a couple other quick things. Something else that I think you really need to check out if you haven't yet. If you are not familiar with it, you definitely need to be. Skeleton Crew Studios. I always say Skeleton Crew, but Skeleton Crew Studios is doing. If you're a fan of Harrow County, they are offering up the cutest little goblin plush you've ever seen. So they have Priscilla, the goblin character, the goblin familiar from Harrow County, is being offered up as a plush doll. I've seen it in the flesh, so to speak, and it's awesome. It's beautiful. But here's the thing. They're doing pre-orders for it right now. And if it doesn't reach a certain number of pre-orders, they will not print them. So it will not exist. If it's something you think looks cool, something you think you might be into, you need to pre-order it. And they're doing some really neat things. If you pre-order it, they come with a signed like certificate, like old Cabbage Patch Kids dolls, I guess, that is signed by Tyler and myself. They're offering a canvas map of Harrow County. So if you're a Harrow County completist, you want this map that Tyler has drawn. So it's just a lot of really cool stuff. If you can find it at skeletoncrewstudio.bigcartel.com. Go and place your pre-order. It's a $36 plush, but it's really something special. So I hope you'll check it out. I really, there's only one in existence, the prototype, and I don't know what happens to it if this doesn't go. So let's make it happen, right? So if you like Harrow County, and if you don't like Harrow County, if you haven't read it, you need to correct that, because it's a book I'm very proud of, and I really think everybody who likes my work should give it a shot. And yes, Animalquackers, who, for those of you who don't know, is my lovely wife Cindy, has seen it too in the flesh, and she knows that it's also super cute. So yeah, Kickstarter, plush. Check them out. I'll mention them again at the end, just so if anybody missed what I had to say. But I want you to check those out, and hopefully you'll support those projects, because they're really cool. Tonight, I don't know what you guys are drinking. Tonight I'm having an old fashioned with Buffalo Trace. It's delicious. And I hope that you are having is it Monday? Yes, I hope you're having a great Monday. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the things I have going on. As many of you know, because of the horrible timeline we live in, a lot of creators right now don't, have been told pencils down. It's and that means that for various reasons we're not doing work, and usually that is the books aren't coming out. Some stores were closed for a while. The distributors were closed for a while. So, books haven't been coming out, and publishers have kind of given us sort of they've put us on hold, for a little bit. The good news is that started, and I've had work to do during this time, so that's great. I'm very fortunate. The great news is I just in the last week I've gotten 5 projects that have been, pencils back up. Let's get back to work. Let's produce these. Some of these I've already done my side of the work with. They've been done for months. But the books are going back into production, meaning artists are working on them again. So artists are working, inkers, colorists, letterers, editors, everybody's working again. So lots of books coming out, and I can't tell you what any of them are because they're all top secret. But in the background, I have strategically placed items that hint at several of the projects that I'm working on. So, check that out. Look carefully. There's, if I were to pan my camera just a little bit over here to the right, you would see my bulletin board, which has all of my work on it. But I can't show it to you. But yes, there are. I mean, just looking at the little image on my computer, I see two very clearly, 2 hints of things that are coming up. Some of them are going to be a big surprise, and I think you'll like them. As far as that's a great question. Are they my IPs or corporate properties? They're all the projects. Let me think. All the projects that I'm currently working on are my creative properties. So lots of new creator-owned books. Maybe revisiting some other projects that you might be familiar with. So keep an eye on that. And we'll see. We've got, like I said, lots and lots of projects. Mark happens to notice a Harrow County Library edition back there. And yes, that is a Harrow County Library edition. Now, Mark, smart guy, is that a hint? Or did I just put that there to market Harrow County? The world may never know. Or it might in a few months. Who knows? Yes, if you look, you're going to see a lot of stuff. Don't read everything into. I mean, look, I'm not writing Thor, Wolverine, Judge Dredd meets Hellraiser meets Crow meets Deadpool meets Jack Burton. Although that would be the world's greatest comic, and I would do it in a heartbeat. I've seen a couple of people comments coming through. I've seen a couple of people asking me about Hellbreak. Maybe it was just Richard asking me about Hellbreak over and over again. But so Hellbreak, for those of you who don't know, was a book I did with Oni Press years ago, and it ran for I think 10 issues came out. The 11th issue never came out, which has always been something I've been very upset about. It's always bugged me that comic just never the issue 11 would have been the final issue, I guess. Wasn't intended to, but would have been. Never hit the stands. So I can tell you that there is stuff going on with Hellbreak, but I can't tell you when that book's going to come out. Hopefully, hopefully soon. There'll be some changes to it because it's been so long since the original series came out. I can't just pick it back up where I left off. I have to kind of address the fact that the story didn't wrap up. I'll address that and then move it over and position it for readers who haven't followed the book before. So if and when it comes out, I've gotta make some changes to it. But I think the changes I have in mind are going to be they will be satisfying for readers of the past and satisfying for readers that going forward. Great question. I'm glad people still remember Hellbreak. I was fond of the book, and wish things had kind of shaken out differently. but we'll see. And please, if you have questions, shoot them at me. I'll put them up here as I get to them, if I see them, as I see them. Any more Metro graphic novels? The answer is yes. My co-writer Brian Quinn and I are working on volume 2 right now. It will not be running as a Kickstarter. We have a publisher who's going to be publishing that book, so that's great. But we're working on it right now, but it's a little ways off still. Yes, Mark, you're absolutely right. That would be that's a cool idea if the 11th issue could be collected at some point, maybe. That's one I'm not 100% sure on, but it would be a cool way to kind of put a cap on it. Anton's asking about the best comic book ever, The Damned. So The Damned is on a hiatus right now. I'm not working on new issues. There are issues written that haven't been drawn yet. But we will get back to it. I just don't know when. There's lots of complicated issues about The Damned. Brian Hurt, the artist and my co-creator on the book, and I definitely want to return to The Damned. We just we have a big story in mind. We've always, since we first put the first miniseries out, we knew there was going to be we had a story in mind for it, and we want to tell that story. But we need to do it in the way that works for all of us. Michael's asking about, Michael asked how long the cyberpunk series that I'm doing is. So I'm doing a cyberpunk series with Dark Horse. It's an initial 4-issue series. It's always been envisioned that what the idea is, there will be a series of miniseries focusing on different aspects of the cyberpunk 2077 world and Night City. My 4-issue series focuses on Trauma Team, which is sort of the emergency services of Night City, heavily armed emergency services, and it's a story of their adventures. But yes, it's a 4-issue series, and then assuming readers like it, they like seeing these different stories set in Night City, Dark Horse will certainly be doing more of them. Jasper says that he has yet to read The Damned and Cold Spots and can't keep up with all my stories, and I don't really expect you to. I get it. I want you to. I want you to read all of these stories, but I also understand that not everyone can keep up with them from time and money and concentration. But they're always going to be there for you, hopefully, and they'll always, I'm going to talk about these books forever. It's interesting you mentioned Cold Spots. Mark Torres and I are working on a new series. Mark was the artist of Cold Spots, and we have a new book in very similar vein that, again, I don't know release dates yet because everything's sort of up in the air, but stay tuned because it's going to be a really cool series. It's awesome. Albert, what a great question. When is my run on Shadowman scheduled to start? I don't know. It was scheduled to be out already, but obviously, publishing schedules changed. I don't know right off the top of my head what the official release date for the first issue is. Stay tuned. Watch, if I do more of these videos, make sure you're watching these, but also watch me on Twitter and my website. Now I will keep you posted on when that series is coming out because it's going to be awesome. I'm getting art for one of the later issues. I just got some more art yesterday for it, and it's spectacular. My good friend, Mr. Macabre, wants to know if I'd ever consider going back and telling the saga of Shrey's early days prior to the arc. So we're talking about my series Dark Arc and Dark Arc After the Flood. And if you haven't read those books, they come out from Aftershock. Real simple premise. We all know the story of Noah's Ark, but what we didn't know is that there was a second ark, and on that ark were all the monsters and the vampires and the werewolves and the manticores and all the horrible creatures. So Dark Ark tells the story of that ark and its journey. It's a great question, Mr. Macabre. But and the answer is yes. I'd love to tell some of Shrey's stories before the story of Dark Ark. But who knows if I'll get the chance to. We just did the 5th issue of Dark Ark After the Flood, and I think for a while that's going to be the last issue. It depends on reader response and if more people want to read more. So I have a bigger story in mind for it. But for now, that may be where we are until we see what response is to it, and if people are actually clamoring for it. So clamor. So other things I'm working on, I just did an OGN original graphic novel for a publisher, middle reader sci-fi horror story. I just wrapped that up, and I just started working on an animated feature screenplay. So those are exciting projects. I'm working on a prose novella for a different publisher, someone I've not worked with before right now. So I'm really excited about that. Excited to be doing some more prose. I have some other prose projects that I'll probably be announcing in the next few weeks. Some exciting prose projects that are going on. I'm really digging this opportunity to dig back into writing short stories and novellas and novels and things like that again. So it's going to be I'm excited to be working on a lot of different kinds of projects and kind of broadening, stretching my wings, so to speak. The new book, Making More, is a crowdfunded project versus sending to the direct market. No, not necessarily. I don't think, and we're talking about Democratus brand. I mean, at the end of the day, it's not like I'm going to cash a huge check for this crowdfunded project, because there's tons of other people who need to be paid for it. There's printing and marketing and design and lettering and everything. There's all these things that need to go into it. And it'll do fine, and it's obviously it's already a successful project, but I don't expect to get rich on any crowdfunding project. My goal with it is to that it's successful enough that we can do more and keep doing them, and they break even, and we have books that we can take to conventions whenever conventions come back and things like that. I'm excited to do the book as a crowdfunding book, and I will probably always have a crowdfunding project, a Kickstarter book out there in some way, shape, or form. But yeah, it's not, to me, at least not right now, it's not necessarily better than working with a publisher. It's just a different way of getting stories out there, and I'm all about getting these stories out there. And your son is 7. Have I written anything for under 10-year-old reading? Absolutely. Terrible Lizard from Oni Press is a great book for that age. Check that out. It's a story of a time lost T-Rex and the girl that finds him, and monsters coming out left and right. It's a great story for kids. Also, Monsters Unleashed, which I did for Marvel. If your son's into superheroes, it's basically a giant monster movie in the Marvel universe with tons of monsters and heroes, and I wrote that with a younger audience in mind. So So I think those are great books for a younger reader for sure. Dennis, so yeah, as far as do I have to think differently when writing comics versus screenplays and novellas? Absolutely. And it's the there's a level. It's, as far as I'm concerned, the complexity or difficulty. Prose and novellas I think are a little more difficult. Comics are under that, and comics are a lot more difficult than writing a comic book screenplay or a comic book script. To me, is a lot. There's a lot more into it than a feature screenplay. Really, I mean the important things are all the same. Character, setting, mood, themes. All those things are important. But yeah, comics and screenplays are definitely more similar than, say, screenplays and novellas and things like that. But yeah, all of them have different skill sets that I have to draw upon. Philip John is asking about Warlock 5, which is a book that we did with Outland. We did the sort of the restart of Warlock 5, and yes, there will be more. I don't know if you saw it, Philip, but Outland just did an omnibus collection of Warlock 5. And it's like the first 15 issues of the series, and 2 of those issues have never been printed. And it's got a great new cover. I wrote the foreword to it. It's super exciting to see that. I had my Warlock 5 books. I got them bound into hardcover because I thought, hey, this will never be collected. And now here Outland comes along and collects them and prints new issues that are new to me. So I'm sure that'll be available to the public at large now that their Kickstarter's closed. But yeah, we have more plans for Warlock 5 in the future. So absolutely stay tuned for that. So I've been answering a lot of questions as we go along, just because I'm seeing if I don't answer them now, I'll miss them in the stream. Oh, Ben. So Ben is asking us about the lovely 6-gun pilot that was shot for NBC years ago. What do you have to do to see it? You'd have to come here and watch it with me, because I've got it on DVD, and I don't know that it will ever be released out in the wild for people to see it. It was George R.R. Martin, the creator of Game of Thrones, Song of Ice and Fire, has a movie theater, and he was able to get that to, he was able to get the pilot and show the pilot for free to, like, I don't know, I think we had 8 to 10 showings of the pilot, and it was really great because we were there, and they had a great parade of undead cowboys, and then we got to watch the pilot over and over again and do Q&As and everything, and it was a lot of fun. But I think that's probably the only time you're going to see it. And really, maybe in the future, if something else happens with it, it might be a nice little piece of nostalgia to show what it was, back then, what it would have been. It's but I don't think they're going to rush out to show it off right now, not while there is still, there's still people working on it. So there you go. What is Warlock 5? So years and years ago, in the 80s, there was a comic book by Aracel called Warlock 5. And Warlock 5 was the story of the grid, which is sort of this nexus of realities. And it was there were 5 gateways, and it was protected by 5 different warlocks. Now, these warlocks are really interesting cats, because one was like a knight, and one was this dude in a trench coat and a fedora who could turn into a dragon, and one was this sorceress, and one was this anarchist punk necromancer, and one was basically the Terminator robot. And they were all vying for control of this grid of all realities. And it ran for about 15 issues. And then the creative teams changed and things really, really shifted, and it wasn't the same book. Jimmy Z. Johnston and I did a sequel to the original 15 issues that came out through Outland. It was a Kickstarter they did. We did like a sequel to that, and we're planning on doing another sequel to it. But it's a really cool book. And it was when it came out when I was a kid, it was everything I could have possibly wanted in a comic book. And I absolutely loved it. Yeah, and I see someone mentioning went on a camping trip this weekend and had this chance to stop at Little Shop of Comics in Cuba, Missouri. Shout out to Little Shop of Comics in Cuba. That is a great little shop. It's an interesting little shop because, first of all, the owner of that shop is Jimmy Z. Johnston, my co-writer on Warlock 5. He co-wrote some Micronauts with me. He's co-writing Democritus Brand and the Endless Machine with me. He's one of my best friends in the world. And this comic shop of his, I wouldn't say this on a broadcast without saying it straight to his face. Jimmy's crazy. And this comic shop was one of his crazy ideas a couple of years ago, and he opened it up, and he's expanded and expanded. And I think he's done 2 expansions now. He's doing really well with it, and he loves that. He loves that shop. He puts a lot of his blood, sweat, and tears in it, just like any comic shop owner does. But yeah, I'm glad you stopped by there. Shout out to Jimmy's shop in Cuba, because he's a good guy, and his shop deserves some attention. So I guess there's no formal Q&A, right? Because I'm just answering your questions as they come along. And this is John, that's a great question. My favorite fantasy series in literature. It's interesting because it kind of ties into some stuff I want to talk about here in a minute. Definitely, man, I was going to say definitely, I had one in mind, and then another one jumps in my head, and I want to talk about it instead. The Elric of Meldemoan stuff is my favorite. Michael Moorcock, all of Michael Moorcock's The Eternal Champion stuff is great. Just this past week, I don't know, I was introduced to Elric in those science fiction book club editions, which collected like 2 or 3 novels each. And I always had the 2 that I had for years and years. And I just found out recently there were 2 more, and I grabbed those. And they have some of the other Elric stories in it. It's great. The last one has Elric fighting Nazis. And because, of course, Elric would fight Nazis. But, at the same time, Fafhrd and Grey Mouser is amazing. Lord of the Rings is a book I've read, over and over and over again. I still, though, I think I'm gonna have to hang my hat on Elric and the Eternal Champion stuff. I just love that series. It's like absolutely the kind of book that I love. The Corum books were a huge influence for me on the Six Gun, and we even had Michael Moorcock did our intro to one of the hardcover editions of the Six Gun, which was very humbling, and it was a huge honor for me. But yeah, Michael Moorcock's books are amazing. Which superhero would I like to write about? None. No. I'm very lucky that I have in my career been able to write so many characters that were on my bucket list. But yes, there are other superheroes, and almost all the ones I really want to write are in the darker side of Marvel and DC. So we're talking Swamp Thing, Man Thing, Etrigan the Demon, the Night Stalkers, and any of those horror characters I would love to get a chance to write for an extended period of time. Maybe, fingers crossed, right? let DC and Marvel know that. Let DC and Marvel know what you think about that. If you want me to write some of their darker superheroes, their horror heroes, I'm all for it. Any chance, Daniel Blanco? Any chance of tackling other horror icons? So we're talking like I did with like Jimmy and I did with Jimmy and I did with Subspecies, and then I did with Pumpkinhead. Yeah, I'd love to. But I don't know, what's going to come up. There were a couple that came up a couple of years ago that I was contacted to write, and things fell apart on the publishing side and didn't happen. So I think I still may be under NDA, so I can't even talk about them. But yeah, if the opportunity came up and it was the right project for me, and I had time and interest, I absolutely would love to. I would love to. Phantasm is the one that's the one I kind of would try to move heaven and earth to write, is some Phantasm. But yeah, there you go. And Mark, I think Mark's figured some things out. I think he's pieced together some secrets, like some sort of private detective, and mentioning that I could write one of Jeff Lemire's superheroes from Spiral City. You're right, Mark. I could. There's one in particular I think would be right up my alley. But we'll have to find out. You and me both, John. You and me both. Etrigan. There's an Etrigan story in my heart that I really want to tell. Here's to Etrigan. All right. So I promised I was going to announce something new that I'm working on. And I'm going to do that now. Well, I'll answer some more questions here before our time is up, but I do want to go ahead and announce this project. It's sort of a side project for me. It's something that I'm doing more for fun and for the love of the game than anything else. We were talking about fantasy series earlier, and this kind of touches on that. So when I was a kid, I was a huge fan of Dungeons and Dragons. I still am, but I was a huge fan of Dungeons and Dragons, and one of the things that and comics, and I remember reading an issue of Iron Man, and in that issue of Iron Man, I can't think of the number. I wanted to dig it up and I forgot to. The cover's great. It has Iron Man fighting the Serpent Society, and like Death Adder or Anaconda has him in a chokehold, and Death Adder's getting ready to slice him up. And I remember we bought it at a bait shop on the way to going fishing. My dad stopped at a bait shop, and they had that issue of Iron Man. I bought it. In that issue of Iron Man, though, they had these one-page ads for Dungeons and Dragons. And these ads were presented as comic books, so comic strips. So it was one-page comic about this group of heroes in a dungeon and dealing with different challenges and monsters and everything. And I loved them. In some cases, I loved those ads more than I actually loved the comics I was reading. And I've thought about those for years. So not long ago, I got this idea that I wanted to do something to kind of honor those comics. And this is what we've got. This is what I'm coming up with. So I am going to be in the next couple of weeks. It will launch officially, but I'm announcing it here. You guys are the first to hear about it or see anything about it. We're going to be launching Deepest Catacombs, the fantasy role-playing comic. So Deepest Catacombs is going to be an epic fantasy adventure told in one-page comic book ad style ads for a role-playing game that never existed. I have 24 issues planned, or 24 pages planned for the first wave. Each page will be drawn by a different artist. And each page will tell a complete story. When you read the whole thing, you have a complete story. It's going to be just a fun way for me to kind of think back on gaming and the things I loved about gaming and the things that have changed in gaming and the things that people like about gaming now. I'm working with Anton Kromoff of Old Magic Gaming. He's helping me to put the book, to do the designs. That initial that cover image you saw there, that is by AC Zamudio and Nick Zamudio, who've worked with me on Shadow Roads and Death Follows, and they did my character designs for me. So I'm excited to get this underway. I've started getting pages in from different artists. It's really amazing to see these different takes on these characters and different approaches to the story that each artist is taking, and how each artist brings something different to their game. And I'm going to release these one-page comic strips on a regular basis, and I'm going to release them to the public for free, so you'll be able to read them online. And there they are. We will be doing some. I'll have some background material on my Patreon. So I'm probably going to post these on my Patreon, and then just open those pages up to the public, so you can see them without backing the Patreon. But then I'm also going to put a lot of background material, script pages, character designs, and a ton of actual gaming content. So we'll create gaming content that features, stats for the characters if you want to play them in your games, and the monsters that show up, stats for those monsters, and just doing a lot of different gaming material for Deepest Catacombs. So if people want to use them in their own role-playing adventures, they'll be able to. I'm really excited about it. Anton and I geek out about it every day that we talk about it and talk about what's coming next for the series. So stay tuned. Hopefully we'll be releasing the first couple of installments in the next week or so, and then there we go. It's so Deepest Catacombs. You'll hear more about it if you subscribe to my newsletter. You'll be seeing a lot more about it. But yeah, I'm very excited about the project. It's mainly for fun, but who knows what we'll do with it. It's fun to flex those. It's interesting project because it's flexing muscles of writing fantasy, but it's also, I'm writing it as ads, and I have to think of it as each page is an ad for a game that doesn't exist. But I'm writing those pages in ads, so I'm like, what would sell the project? What would sell the product to the reader if they were reading this ad? And then the 24 pages will tell a complete story, complete epic story once you get all of those. So I'm hoping you guys will like it. Stay tuned. I'll be posting lots more about it, and we'll be sharing these adventures really soon, because it's a lot of fun. I mean, like I said, I'm a huge gamer. Look, I was a big time gamer back in the day. These days, I still love. I still keep my favorite game books on a shelf, even though I may never play them. And I am doing some online Dungeons and Dragons with some friends. I have a couple of games that we run, but yeah, it's great to kind of tell stories in that setting. And I've got some other fantasy projects in the works. So let's stay with me on it. I think you're gonna like it. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. They have a pig familiar named Chops who gets into all sorts of amazing trouble. So there you go. If for no other reason, you want to read this story, because it has a pig familiar named Chops. And here we go. Let's talk about some role-playing games. Leonard, it's good to hear from you. Classic Marvel, the TS. So I bought the Marvel role-playing game stuff that TSR put out back in the day. I had some of it, and especially my favorite box set. They did like the New York City of the Marvel universe, like a guide to the Marvel universe, New York City, and I had that, and I loved it. I never really played the Marvel role-playing game though. I was huge into Villains and Vigilantes. That was the superhero role-playing game that I absolutely loved. Still have all my Villains and Vigilante stuff. It was such a great game, and I just like that we were creating our own heroes instead of playing, Captain America and Spider-Man. These were, new creations. So my character was called Lightning Bug or something, but no, I love Villains and Vigilantes. It's been a favorite game of mine for years and years. Haven't played it in so long, but yeah, it was a great game. Josh Roberts asks, who is the hero of Lord of the Rings, in my opinion? So let's give some backstory, jackass. Josh is my good friend. He has been a guest host on the podcast that my wife and I do together, The Bungalow, which and Josh will probably be a guest on this broadcast at some point. But in our last episode of The Bungalow, we had a discussion, much to Cindy's dismay, about Lord of the Rings and who the hero was. And we had a little bit of a difference of opinion. I believe Samwise is the hero, and Josh believes that Golem is the true hero. I contend that once someone tries to feed someone to a spider, they can no longer be the hero. But that's just me. I'd love to hear more about what Josh... Oh, Josh, your comment dropped away. Sorry, buddy. We'll talk about it some other time. Sorry, man. Oh, there he is again. He knew that he was wrong and wants to know about the Lord of the Rings role-playing system from Iron Crown. I played it one night. Right after I moved away to go to college, I started gaming with a couple of guys, and they played the Lord of the Rings system. I played for one night. I don't remember my character. I don't remember anything about it. The thing I remember about that night is the guy didn't have any food in his house, and he heated up a thing of spaghetti sauce and was dipping bread. He was like rolling up pieces of white bread and dipping in it, eating it. And that's what I remember more than the actual role-playing game. I remember this guy eating his white bread and spaghetti sauce. And I thought to myself, man, being a college guy is the life. So yeah. So just as we're closing in on the last 10 minutes, if there anybody with any other things we want to talk about, let's talk about it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this and want me to do it again. But things to remember, things that I want to make sure you check out. Democratic Brand and the Endless Machine, now on Kickstarter. We were right around 15,000 before I started this broadcast. Jimmy Z. Johnston has a crazy idea to print comics on backer boards. If we reach 20,000, if we reach 20,000 as a stretch goal. So if you haven't backed the project, take a look at it. It's got some really cool stretch goals, some really cool project levels, great variant covers. There are retail levels. If if you have a retailer, you want to make sure that tell them about it and let them get it. But definitely check that out. And then for sure, if you thought that Priscilla plush doll was of interest to you, check out Skeleton Crew Studio at bigcartel.com. Pre-order it. I don't know. I can't remember what the threshold numbers are, but we weren't there yet. So if you want to see that come to light, pre-order it. Let's make that happen as well. So there we go, guys. That's what I want to do. Maybe once a week or so, I'll hop on, pour a drink, and we'll talk about comics. and movies and things that all the nerdy stuff that we love. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope that it's something you want to see again, and maybe we'll do it about once once a week. We'll hop on here, we'll pour a drink. What drink should we make next time? This is old fashioned, it's my classic, but for the next one, what should I have? Anybody have any suggestions? Because I'll try to make it. Yes, Mark, more Shadow Roads is on its way. There was a little delay, but there's more coming. So keep a lookout. I do plan on talking about some process stuff. I had some questions. Had some questions about process stuff, and I didn't get to them this one, but I loaded a bunch of images up so I can talk about process. Oh my gosh, look at you drunks. So far I've gotten the suggestion of a rum runner, which that's a good idea. I haven't made a rum runner in a long time. Or a dark and stormy, which is apparently unbeatable. A margarita, which is my old go-to drink. It's what I used to make more than anything. A vodka and cranberry. All right, good choice. Mint julep, because why not? It's the South, I guess, right? Jack and Coke. Lemmy's drink, which I don't know what the hell that is. Cindy says margaritas, and she's probably going to be guesting on the next one. So I think that's a second for margaritas, and that's what it is. We're having margaritas next time. So you folks who are watching are going to be here. Get your margarita recipes ready and make a margarita for next time. And when we sit down to do this, it'll be around the same time next week. We can enjoy some margaritas together and talk about all this nerdy stuff that we love to talk about. So again, thank you guys for watching. Thanks for the support. I hope you enjoyed it. I had fun just riffing about comics for a little bit. Stay tuned on stuff for Deepest Catacombs, and that's it for this week. But thank you all so much, and you'll be hearing from me again soon. Thanks, everybody.